Kellogg Company contacted me. They wanted me to take 5 interns around and show them historic Kellogg sites in Battle Creek. And going, okay. I said, I'll do the best I can. But
what's left of them?
yep.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty to do. Plenty of stories to tell.
It might be interesting.
So let's turn to the topic at hand. I'm Mike McCullough, and I'm here at Willard Library with another installation of Peeks into the Past. And today I have an illustrious bunch of characters with me. We're going to take a stroll down Old Maple Street. And for those of you who aren't aware, that was the name of Capitol Avenue, Northeast, until 1931. But helping me out today, in order of when they came onto the program, we have Jim Middleton, who I just met on Friday. Jim was a pharmacist, lived here for what 40 years, Jim?
Yeah, 43, but who's counting?
Yeah, and he wowed me with his knowledge of Frank Cole, which we will hear about more. Hans Stark, he's a veteran of Peeks into the Past. He came on with us for his work on the Shepherd House.
Yep.
On Riverside Drive last year, and today we're going to focus on his house on Capitol Northeast. Welcome, Hans.
All right. Yep. Hello, everybody, again.
Yeah. Randy Case, who has been a force to be reckoned with in saving Battle Creek buildings, a local architect, preservationist, and a great source of information. Randy, thank you.
And he's an all-around good guy. He's really a nice guy.
He really
Who would have
is.
thought?
He really is. And then, of course, Kurt Thornton. It's almost not a show without Kurt.
There we go.
True.
So really, really excited about this one. The Maple Street, Old Maple Street. We're not going to touch on all the houses today because there's too many of them. I'm going to get rid of that sign over my face. How about that?
Nice.
And we're just going to jump right in. Kurt, tell us about Maple Street. Tell us.
As far as I understand it, the Merritt family had a farm that ran from Fremont Street to East Avenue, east and west, and to the north side it went a little bit further than Emmett Street. And they had planted the trees that were there were not maple trees. They brought them down from Bellevue and brought maple trees in because they liked them and planted them along the street. And so I believe it was called Maple Place for a while, but then it just switched to Maple Street. This is a picture from the 1880s, a drawing looking from the north, looking south. It's we just do a little line showing you where Maple Street runs. And like I said, it is Capitol Avenue now, and everyone recognizes it when they drive down these beautiful old homes on the street there. Many of them have been subdivided into apartments. I was fascinated to know that it wasn't paved until the 1890s. It was a dirt road, which apparently what it looked like here, and it could get quite muddy. I thought it was
quite popular for people to race their horses.
Oh, okay.
Young guys would, wager each other and race down this nice straightaway.
Yeah.
So,
I was reading in 1912 when they put electric lights in. They said that people would bring their furniture out, chairs, and sit along the street and wait for the street lights to come on. They would time them, and they thought it was really a cool thing to be able to go out and see the electric lights come on each night. So that was pretty cool. That house in the background there is the Nichols House, the founder of Nichols and Shepherd. The house is gone now, and it was recently, I think, the Church of Scientologists rented the office space. They also rented the house on the left. That's still standing there. That's on the corner of Fremont and Capitol Avenue.
That's the red stucco house?
Yes. Yep. Uh-huh.
I guess there used to be a streetcar down the middle of the road, too.
Yep. Yeah, they said when they put the streetcar in, the residents weren't real happy about that. They didn't want the just regular folks to be able to come up and down the street. This was a high-end street. They didn't want just anybody coming out there. But after a while, they got really used to it and really enjoyed using that as a means of transportation. Until the 1930s when they tore that all out and went to buses. This one shows the intersection of Maple Street and Division is on the right there. This is looking east down Capitol Avenue. The house some people might recognize isn't the one on the corner on the right, but the one next to it used to be the YMCA. And that the house on the corner and the house next to it are where the Y Center is located now. The big house on the right was the Hinman House, and that I got to go into that when they were tearing it down to put the parking lot in for the Y Center. It was really a shame to see that house go. I think we have some pictures of it a little later on. But
It's one of the few French Second Empire styles in this area.
there it is. Yep.
There's one in downtown Marshall. It's a commercial block,
Yep.
but you don't see many of those around.
What I really liked about this, that even when they tore it down in the 1970s, and it's hard to see in this picture, but the roof had a design in the tiles, and that roof was still the original roof when they tore it down in the 1970s.
Wow.
It was quite a beautiful house. That's me in the center picture, taking a picture of myself in the mirror. But they were selling out all the fireplaces, the woodwork, the skylight is in the bottom left-hand corner. The upper left-hand corner is a piece of plaster work on the ceiling. It was just a beautiful, beautiful home.
Did somebody buy that fireplace around?
They bought all of the fireplaces. Yeah, they sold all the fireplaces out.
Wow. That thing is beautiful.
I bought the skylight, and they ended up selling it at a garage sale, but I have the glass roof that goes over the top of it out in my backyard. I sit underneath it when it rains.
Well, I mean, I wanted to include this because this is a constant source of tension for this street. I mean, and we have some wonderful examples of reclamation and rehabilitation of some really beautiful homes, but of course we've lost quite a few. Yeah. And the historic significance of this street, I think, is worth mentioning. I mean, obviously, the folks who Nichols, Shepherd, the industrialists of the time, Irving Stone. I mean, some of Battle Creek's leaders in business and development and manufacturing, this is where they made their homes. But also there was a line there, north of it, that's where many of the workers for these places live.
Yep. So the Hinmans were, he ran the American Steam Pump Company, was his claim to fame.
Okay.
Are they related to the Hinmans in Kalamazoo now?
I have no idea.
Okay.
So we're going to just jump right in, and kind of the anchor for it is the Kimball House Museum, which sits right next to the YMCA, and this is where the Historical Society manages its museum, and they have hours on Saturdays and Sundays that you can go in and take a look. Randy, what do we know about this place?
Well, it's a Queen Anne, and it's a really beautiful place. Maybe Jim's got some background on the people. I'm not or maybe Kurt does.
Yeah, it's 3 generations of the Dr. Kimballs lived there, and I think I'm bad on the names of which Kimball is. This is the original Kimball that built houses. And he wasn't there for very long, was he? Didn't he? He didn't live long, did he?
No, he didn't live long. He came to Battle Creek, and I can't remember the exact year, but he was actually on his way to. He had tuberculosis, like so many people did in that time, in that era, and he was on his way out to the west for the climate, but he stopped in Battle Creek. And hooked up with a friend who convinced him to give Battle Creek a try. And he established a building downtown, Kimball Block building, had his medical practice, and his son, Arthur H. Kimball, that was Arthur S. Kimball, was the first generation. Arthur H. Kimball, he went on to become the city's first, public doctor or medical director or public health director, and he also had suffered tuberculosis, and he passed away at age 43, and same as his father, but he was a pioneer in tuberculosis treatment, a contemporary of Dr. Kellogg and Sylvia Post, and their home they entertained a lot of these luminaries. He's there with his children, one of whom was Arthur H. Kimball Jr., who also became a doctor and actually was administrator of the hospital named for Dr. Kimball, his father, out there where the Calhoun County Medical Center is.
Yep, Kimball's man, yep.
So back to the architecture.
Well, also that it was donated to the junior league, which, kind of held the building for a little while. And let's see, they created the Kimball House Museum, and then it was later, turned over to the Historical Society of Battle Creek. In terms of the architecture, we went through and did an evaluation for masonry work and so forth, and we did preservation trades training on the some brickwork and stonework that's on the building, and did some window repair and replacement and that kind of thing. And we were doing some stuff with that over at the Career Center in Battle Creek, the Calhoun County Career Center, with the construction trades group, trying to edge people into preservation trades training. Because, actually, once you know the preservation aspects, you're really quite in demand, because not many people know how to repair a double hung window with counterweights. And also the mortar matches and all that kind of stuff. That was it's kind of a trip. So anyway, we started that program and got involved with that kind of work. And then we found that the porch, is there another shot in there of the earlier picture?
Yeah, you tell me when you want me to move forward. There it is without the porch roof.
Yeah, let's maybe go back earlier.
Flip to the next picture. I think one of them later. No,
I wanted to show the Kimball House first when it had there we go, in the upper right-hand corner. That curved porch to the right of the central porch was added on at some point, and there was no footing under the curved balusters that screened off the bottom of the porch, and so it was caving in, and it was like sitting on the ground, and so all the stuff rotted. And so when we did the preservation trades training group, we came out there and did the demolition of it to get ready to reconstruct it.
Hey, Randy, what year was that the VOED worked on that? Do you know what year that was?
I'm guessing it was 2005.
2005. Okay, thank you.
Because that was just after I had Cody Newman measure the Shepherd House.
Okay.
And that was when he got interested in architecture.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he, then he went to architecture school, and he was working for weekends, evenings, and in summer break with us.
There he is. Right
there, I reckon I see that now.
Yeah. Well, what happened is they pulled the plug on the program.
Okay.
And so they didn't want to treat trades training that much anymore.
Yeah, and that's why I asked you specifically what year that was. So
yeah, it was around 2005, 2006, something like that. And that's when Keith Mingle, who was the fine carpentry teacher, Cody and I did it on weekends and evenings to finish the porch. And so Keith has a big lathe, and he turned the corner posts and did the half posts, and then turned all the balusters.
Of course, I'm a product of the VOED Center myself, so I was in the building trades there. So
yeah, it was a good program, but
it was a great program.
Somebody
in 1974, 75, I was at the VOED Center.
Yeah, somebody in administration felt that everybody should be going for computer skills and other things, and so they were, edging people out of the trades.
Yeah.
And I think
I remember when you talked about it. It was a great idea, and you're training people, and they're actually not only learning, but they're repairing a historic structure. I thought it was a great program, because it was they could see what they were. People could see what they were doing and appreciate it, and I thought it was a great idea, great program.
Well, yeah, and also it kind of ties those young people to the community, because they've done something here and they got a connection to things then.
Good point.
Yeah, so that was it was a good program. It's just kind of too bad it had to die, and then the fellow that was doing the trades program had to leave, so he went up to Muskegon and was doing something at Muskegon Community College, I believe, at this point. But anyway, it got done, and
it looks beautiful. You've done a great job.
Beautiful. And Bill, my colleague on the Historical Society board, did point out that they were all Arthur Kimball.
All Arthur. Yeah, Arthur. Uh-huh.
Did I say Gary before?
I we weren't sure on the first Kimball, but I think they're all.
It was Arthur H. Kimball who came in 1883, which you can read on the marker right in front, as you can see right there, and it was Arthur S. Kimball.
That could have been confusing when someone called and wanted to talk to Arthur. Like Arthur, which one?
Which one?
But as you can see, it's been quite a focal point for us.
One of the things I wanted to comment about while we were looking at the outside there was the paint job that was done to pull out all those details. And Craig Bishop from Community College is a fine artist, and he loved the building, and he really wanted to give it a proper paint job. So he researched it, got colors, and he did a really phenomenal job.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yep.
And I really appreciated the fact that he did that. And you got to give credit where credit's due here.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you can go and hear talks at the Kimball House, and we
and actually, I like this picture because Mary Butler is in the center, and she was she was the center of Battle Creek history for so long, and a great historian, a great friend. What a wonderful woman. Yep. I miss her very much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the only trouble with the Kimball House is that it's the center for the Historical Society, and sometimes if they have large events, it's really hard to pack everybody into that building. That's because it is an old Victorian house. It's I got in trouble when I was on the board in the 70s. I would advocate selling the house, and they would just flip out. I'd go, let's sell the house and buy the train station. Clara's, and they go, we can't sell this house. I'm going, it's a house. Let's get the train station. But
well, it was interesting also when the Junior League did the building in the 60s, they put electric heat in, and it was up in the plaster ceiling.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was nice because there was no pipes showing and no duct work and all that kind of stuff, but also made it extremely expensive to heat.
Not good for a organization that runs on donations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So moving right down the street, we had the Frank J. Kellogg residence. And as interesting as the house is, the character behind it's pretty interesting too, which is...
Well, I was really surprised when I read that it was designed by Arilla Ordway, who was the architect. He's the one who designed McKinley School that was just down the street also. I didn't realize he had done this house also, but it's really pretty cool.
And what's the architectural style in this, Randy?
Well, it looks like a Queen Anne with the East Lake tendencies with the trim up above in the pediment there.
And the sealed wraparound porch, is that a particular style where it's a sealed porch where it has a solid wall all the way around it?
Well, the shingle style this was kind of a concoction of different things because I imagine at first the siding down below was all shingles, and then the walls around, that wasn't very normal, but for a shingle style house, and if they wanted to use the cedar shingles, that must have been what they did.
Well, probably Mr. Kellogg, Frank Kellogg, which I think Jim can tell us a little bit about Mr. Kellogg, who is not related to Dr. Kellogg or W.K. Kellogg, but people get confused by that. But he sort of used the name.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Jim. Tell us about Frank Kellogg.
Frank Kellogg's kind of a collection of contradictions right from the very beginning. He was born in the city named Lapeer. Right off the bat, we don't know whether it's Ohio or Michigan. We never really made too clear on that, and neither of those cities will claim his birthright. So that's kind of an interesting start to him. He did come to Battle Creek in the 1870s, just as all the other stuff was happening, and he was going to make his career as a cartoonist initially. But he had an older brother who was into making patent medicines. So at some point or another, after he came to town, he quickly married, and he started setting up a business, becoming the anti-fat king in Battle Creek. And his product was initially a laxative mixed with a thyroid extract. So you got all perky and zipping around the house, and you went to the bathroom a lot. So
wait.
Yeah, you lost weight. And he had a real ingenious way of advertising advertising it. He advertised in Collier's quite a bit, and his big push was, "I'll send you a free sample." And you get the sample, you get a month's worth after that, and then they get an invoice for $5 with that free sample for the month's worth. And back in the 1870s, 1880s, that was $5. That's a lot. And it was for a month's worth. And if you bit on it, he'd send you perpetually every month $5 worth. And you become millionaires as a result of that.
He would have done
business model. I think that business model is still out there.
I was going to say that's with Facebook, because I mean, look at this. Look at it. It's an unretouched photo. Look what happened.
Unretouched.
It's unretouched.
That's just right there, man. It was amazing. And you get it like finger candy. You get a bunch of these little tablets, just keep popping them down. And he got away with it till about 1906. And he at that point, the AMA came in and said, "This is a deadly combination. You put thyroid in it, but the other part in it makes it a laxative. You should not take it." So he said, "Oh, okay." So he started selling his brown tablets as a laxative, and said it was endorsed by the AMA because they said, "Hey, it must work." But that's one of the things he's known for. The other thing he's known for is his divorces. He married his first wife, with Madam Kellogg, a picture of her there. She invented this kind of one-page dress pattern where everything was on this large hunk of tissue paper. And then you had to figure out what these little ratios were to build the pattern from the sketch she gave you. And you'd have to trace it like 3 times and build it from this. So that's how she made her French designs on that. Well, he was married to her for 25 years. And then they built that house on Maple Street for her and him. And as soon as it was built, they got divorced, and Frank Kellogg moved out to Green Street. And then that's where his life started taking a turn, because by every other year, he would get married and divorced, married and divorced, married and divorced. And the third wife he had was from Milwaukee, and the divorce went so rabidly ugly that it was finally settled here in Battle Creek, but then he came back and wanted to pay less alimony, so the fighting went to the point where it came to the state Supreme Court. And the state Supreme Court looked at the two of them screaming and yelling in their chambers, and they said, "Stop it. You deserve each other. We're annulling your divorce." which was a shock to Kellogg, because he was already living with another woman in Detroit.
He sounds like a Kardashian.
Yeah, so he was all over the place. I mean, yeah, he was just crazy. And then he's known for that. And then he's known for introducing the phonograph to Battle Creek. And it wasn't even a year after Edison invented this little quirky, cranky device that ran on tinfoil. Yeah. And he brought it here to Battle Creek. He had it shown. It was shown at the Sanitarium. And then he packed them in at the Hamblin Opera House, and he did a 1-minute demonstration of how this marvel of Thomas Edison's. And he did that. And then the other thing he did is he built the first Civil War memorial.
So
he was.
One of the things I think is so interesting about these characters, these folks. I mean, there's whatever their business practices were. I mean, they were very innovative, very entrepreneurial, and then he did turn around and made some lasting contributions to the city. And
he did.
War Memorial is one of those.
Jim, he does have the tallest monument in the cemetery.
But didn't you say he died before he got to see this put up?
Yeah, he died before it happened.
Okay.
He got into a huge argument with the people who were trying to plan the whole thing, who came in after him. It took 17 years to get the thing moving. And by that time, he got so disgusted with the people on the board and on the committee, he just washed his hands and walked away. And then he died a few years before it was even completely installed. And then when they dedicated it, his name wasn't even mentioned.
Wow.
This is engraved in Oak Hill Cemetery, which is he has the honor of having the tallest monument in Oak Hill Cemetery.
Yeah, that's what it is, the tallest.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
That rascal.
Yeah.
So moving on, 231. Maple Street. And I didn't have a name for this one. Randy, do we have a name for this?
Yeah, this one is the home of Arthur Williams. And let me see, there's a little background on that. Let's see, I got to dig it out a little bit here.
He was a lawyer in Battle Creek.
Yeah.
I'm cheating. I'm looking. He came from Charlotte, Michigan. He closed his office in 1911 when he joined the Postum Company as their general counsel.
Well, this was the reason I'm in town today, is because when I got out of architecture school in '75, there were no jobs available. And a friend of mine that I went to school with got a job here working for Guido Binda, and he did schools.
Yep.
And so he put in a good word for me, and then I got hired to come in there.
Wow.
And it was interesting because when I came to this town, I'd go out at lunchtime, just walk up and down the street, and there was just such phenomenal housing stock. I'd come from Ann Arbor, and places like Battle Creek they were like $1 million houses in Ann Arbor. And, we were thinking we'd never be able to own a house. We came to Battle Creek and we saw all this great stuff, and there was a lot of things that needed to be rehabbed, but we were rehabbers, so we got a house over on Union Street and rehabbed it. But anyway, the first floor of this house was the main drafting room, and Binda's office was in the back a little bit, and then there was another room over the right side here, and that's the back room. That's where I was. And on the second floor, the engineers were up there, and then we had a little break room up on the second floor. And then there was an apartment above the carriage house, and so that somebody was boarding at that point. But I thought, wow, this is such a phenomenal place. And it was kind of nice because they didn't just tear it all up like most people did in that era.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's all brick too. I mean, that's another unusual thing.
Yeah. It's a Flemish style, and apparently it came from there. There was, let's see, who was it? I mean, this was Arthur Williams, and he'd come back from a trip, and he'd seen some of these Flemish homes, and so he had it built in that style.
Yeah.
And the parapet on the front, the triangular portion, you see it has little indentures on the stone coping.
Yep.
And that's kind of this little Flemish style. It has the little pokes in, and every once in a while as you go around. And there were always a parapet on the end. Instead of just a straight gable with a roof overhanging, it always had a parapet on it. And the parapet was usually a decorative thing. And you can see the brickwork on the columns. They were all, indented in little horizontal bands and things like that. So, and they articulated the little columns out front with the balusters, and of course they had little dogs on there. I think that what's the name? Phil Schultz and his wife lived there later. Mm-hmm. I think they put the dogs out there. It's just kind of a cool thing. You in those days, you'd kind of think there'd be some kind of a lion or something, but they thought I think they're greyhounds. I'm not sure.
Yep. I think you're right.
Yep.
Yeah. But, it's a beautiful, very structurally sound place. I haven't been in it in a long time. I'm not sure who lives there at this point. But anyway, that was where I got my start here.
Good. We're glad you came. Then you got to dogs. All right, and then now here's one. It's in the process of being reclaimed, or to some extent. It's still going to be an apartment building, which is what it is now, I believe. The gentleman's name is McConnell, right?
Yes. Yep. He's really working to try to renovate the building. He's still going to have it be apartments, but he wants to really stabilize the building and get it repaired. It's a beautiful, beautiful house. I was reading about it, and it said it actually was started in 1870 by a guy named Silas Petit, He built the back part of it originally, and then in 1872 it was bought by a different guy who like lost it to the bank, and then eventually it was sold to the Postum Cereal Company, and it became the home of this gentleman here, which is Carroll Post, which people get confused. It's C.W. Post's brother. It's not C.W. C.W. did not live in this house,
Right.
but his brother did, and his brother was the business partner at the Post and Cereal Company, and so supposedly he and his wife transformed the house into what you see today, the beautiful house where they had huge parties, they entertained people. I know it's got 42 rooms. My mom looks like they have water damage on the floor there, but I'm sure they fixed that. But my mom always said it was the largest house in Battle Creek, and I don't know if it still is, but it was at the time. During World War I, Walter Butterfield lived there, who was the founder of the Butterfield movie chain. And then later on, Bernard McFadden, who was known as Bare Torso McFadden, because he liked how he looked, and he apparently had lots of pictures of himself taken looking like this, which, hell, if I looked like that, I would take pictures of myself too. But
that was the whole point, was you can look like that.
yes,
Yeah.
and you didn't have to take Frank Kellogg's laxatives. It's like, yeah, take those and you could look like this. It's like, but Bernard McFadden had that as a sanitarium, and he called it the International Health Resort. That was from 1921 to 1929, and then I didn't know it was in 1937. It was purchased by Otto Madalena, which was the Madalena family, which I knew them for years. I rented a house from one of the Madalenas, and also Frank Zanetti lived here. It would have been one of the Zanetti's parents lived in this house for a while.
Oh, really?
So Otto Madalena was from Imperial Tile, obviously.
Yeah.
And brought all the old Italians over, including Sano and Cesco and the Zanettis. You know,
Yeah, the whole group of them. Yeah.
They lived in this house for a while, but this picture shows the renovation they're working on, and I'm amazed at the things they're doing because, as Hans knows, this isn't cheap. Doing this stuff is not cheap. He's really they're supporting the front porch roof. They're trying to fix the pillars. They're fixing the foundation because the stone and brick foundation underneath the pillars was rotting away. They're trying to stabilize the house and do a really nice job fixing it up, which is great. I'm just
Who are they having do the work? You know, are they doing the work themselves, or
that I don't know.
He's a contractor, I understood. So.
yeah, I saw a sign out front, but I had never heard of them.
Yeah, I think they moved to town here a couple years ago. So,
Well, McCown told me how many houses in Battle Creek they had renovated, and he said nothing like this. They had done more like smaller homes and renovated them and resell them and rent them. But it was his big project, and he's really invested in this, trying to get this back up because it is just a beautiful, beautiful house.
Yeah. It reminds me on the interior, a lot of the stuff like on 26 Fremont. It has a beautiful interior. The exterior looks a little rough because it needs some touch and also some paint. Paint would make a big difference.
Yeah. All it takes is money. All it takes is lots and lots of money.
Well, it's time and money.
Yes, it does. But it's if you love it, and like Hans, you have done this with once again your home and the house on Riverside Drive. It is. It's an act of love. You love doing it, and you get satisfaction because the community really appreciate this.
these projects, I'm sure he'd find out they're moving targets because you don't really know what you get into, and then all of a sudden you realize the foundation, or like Randy said earlier, no foundation.
Yep.
And then you really have to, stabilize the property or stabilize the building, and that's a costly venture. I'm just looking at the post house on how he has the thing jacked up in the front to stop it from collapsing, and then you build the footings underneath that. And of course, today, Randy would tell you have to do that all to code, which is another obstacle.
Well, you want to do it according to code so it doesn't fall. Because in the old days, people didn't really have structural engineers. They just kind of went out and winged it.
wait.
If you got a good stonemason that has done these things for a long time, his grandfather and grandfather's grandfather taught him well, then you're okay. But sometimes they weren't.
So true.
So this one at 276 Maple Street, I remember when Roberta, she was Roberta Stewart at the time when she purchased this and made this into the bed and breakfast. But I, very nice to see. She brought me over a file folder today, so I had a little bit more of the history of it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I
I worked with her when she first came to town to turn that into the B&B. She had just retired from teaching, and she always wanted to do a B&B. And this house was just such a phenomenal place. I mean, it's got Tiffany windows and Steuben shades over the main dining room table, and it's just phenomenal. It's in pretty good shape yet. You know, when you look at the roofs and so forth.
Because it was originally built for Winifred Robinson, who was the Secretary Treasurer of H.B. Sherman, but he died before it was completed, and so Sierra Cole bought it, and he was a leading builder contractor in Battle Creek. He built City Hall, he built Battle Creek Central, he built the Masonic Temple, he built the Youth Building, and he even built the Emily Andrus home. And so he took it over and finished it out really nicely. And lived there for many years. And then Roberta, we bought the house in, I think, 1985, and in 1986 had the opening of it at Christmas time. After she worked and she said it was a work of love from a bunch of family and friends, because she said so many people helped her work on the house. She had friends that could strip floors, she had friends that could paint. But like Randy said, the stained glass windows and the cut glass windows, they're just beautiful. And I remembered as a kid, you couldn't see the house because it had like 6 or 8 pine trees in front of it, so you couldn't even see the house. And that's what Roberta said. When she first went through it, it was so dark and dreary. She told the realtors she'd think about it, but she wanted to come back again when it was sunny out. And then she went through and said, "Yeah, it was worth taking on." But yeah, it's quite a place. 6,500 square feet, and this, I believe, is the dedication of the historic marker in front. Randy, would that be what this is? Where you're sort of standing there on the left?
Yeah, I think so. It was when the people from the State Historic Preservation Office came down and christened and unveiled the state register listing for the plaque and so forth.
I want to put a plug. There's my mother standing there in the middle of the picture.
Right.
She helped Roberta do a lot of research. And just last night, because to drive Mac nuts, I wait till the last minute and go look up history and then send it to him like hours before we do these programs. And he has to try to put this stuff together. He does a really great job. He's really so patient with me. But I found a file folder with all the stuff Mom had done for research, and it has tax records, and it was amazing the stuff Mom had on this. And like Randy was talking about earlier, these are like murals painted on the wall. These aren't because when Roberta said when she got it, many of these have wallpaper over them, and she said that luckily the wallpaper just peeled off, so she didn't damage the murals, the ones in the dining room. This is over the living room fireplace.
Yeah, normally they'd have a clear coating that would protect it, and so the new material probably didn't bond well, which is luckily.
Luckily, oh my God! Look at this. This is beautiful. The one that I think the next one shows the dining room. I think maybe.
Yeah. We had
that's the dining room wall.
We had an AIA convention, American Institute of Architects convention in Apple Creek back in, I think it was 97 or 98. And we put Ed Francis, who was with the Kessler firm and a well-known preservation architect. He and his wife stayed in there, and they were just enthralled with the place. And they coach you with a lot of things about, you know, what kind of carpets and various things that she could use. And said it was like one of the finer examples of the arts and crafts movement, you know, in this part of the state.
Now, Randy, I just want to throw this out because I was reading an article from when it opened, and they have a quote from you that the house has no style.
What's that?
There's a quote from you when they opened the place that says the house has no style. You said it was just a mishmash of all kinds of different styles. So then I liked it where later on you said it was arts and crafts. I said, research. You got to like.
Well, see, arts and crafts is a very broad subject. You got the Art Nouveau, you got all these different, veins of it, and little pieces of it are used all over the place.
So is this one of the Tiffany windows? Because this is on the landing of the staircase. I remember this going in, and you have the sailing ship, and it was just, you're looking at it going like, this was here? They're going, yeah, it was all here, and it was all preserved really nicely.
Yeah. I think it's individually, I think it's signed by Tiffany also.
Is that the Steuben chandelier?
That's what I remember, and that's the only one that's above the table, so
What
that's the one.
I should interject that Mark Benke, the mayor, who owns the house, he provided a few of these photos as well this morning.
Yeah.
For us. So thank
I
you.
think that when Ed Francis was there, he was going around looking for all the signatures and things and stuff. So I wasn't aware because I hadn't gone through in real detail when I was working with Roberta. We were just trying to help get through some basic things and then kind of coach her in how to repair things in the rehabilitation. But
the information I have says this is Honduras mahogany woodwork. I don't know what Honduras mahogany is different than regular. I don't know enough about woodwork, but it said it was Honduras mahogany.
Oh, could be.
It said so. It's like Facebook. It must be true.
Must be true.
Oh, it was on Facebook then.
No. It's like Facebook. It's like it must be true. So yeah.
Well, it is gorgeous. Wherever it came from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is nice. And it's
They're just gorgeous.
the doorways, the French doors with the colored glass and cut glass. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal.
Uh-huh.
I think Mark Benke would be happy to say that it also is for sale. In case anybody is enamored with the beautiful building.
It is a beautiful building.
Yes.
So moving on down, we have 289 Maple, which was the house built by Irving L. Stone.
Yep, Irving Stone. I was interested to read that he went to Hillsdale College. Then he went and was the superintendent of schools of Three Rivers. And then in 1873, he came to Battle Creek to be the superintendent of Battle Creek schools. Then he left that job and started the Union School Furniture Company.
Yep.
And the thing that was cool about that is while he was working for the furniture company, he would see this really good, nice wood coming through, and he'd save it out because he knew he was going to build a house. So he saved this cherry and maple for this house. And the family moved in 1884. I know Mr. Stone said he was really nervous because this was on the outskirts of town as far as he was concerned. He thought this was too far out of the downtown area and was worried that it was just going to be way off in the suburbs, and I was nervous about that. But it tells that he had a woodworking artisan named Willard Snow that was there from 1884 to 1891 just to do the woodwork. And he hand-carved the woodwork. They talk about it in the one of the articles in the Empire I have, where the staircase, they had this bishop come in who looked in and said it was God's staircase because it was so beautiful. The library, they had built-in bookshelves. The dining room had two large sideboards. And the Stone family, they had 4 children, but the Stones loved children. So they had a stage set up so they could put a portable stage in their dining room, and the living room would be the auditorium, and kids could put on shows there. They had scenery. They had all the stuff set up so neighborhood kids could come in and do a show because it was before television and before iPads. And so kids actually had stuff to do. And they had interviewed one of the kids of the Stone children. They said it was amazing because the basement was so huge, and that's where they would store the stage. And I guess they'd built special secret compartments in the house so the kids could go into one and come out someplace else. I was reading that some of the guests that they had there, because this was before the Post Tavern was built, so there wasn't anything really nice in Battle Creek to go to. Because even Randy, even your place downtown wasn't probably as nice as what they would have wanted. So Susan B. Anthony stayed there, and the Chinese minister to the United States stayed in that house for a while when they were visiting.
It's unfortunate we have no interior shots.
Yeah, I would love to see the inside of it, but it's cut up into a bunch of apartments, and I'm assuming I'd have to go in and try to rent an apartment, get in there, and but I'd love to see if any of the wood. I mean, some of the wood probably got to be in there. And Mr. Stone is also famous in Battle Creek because after his wife passed away, he had the YWCA built down the street from him in memory of his wife. And it's now the Miller Stone building that's part of the Battle Creek Public Schools. But this shows a picture of it when it was built. It shows the auditorium, gymnasium part of it when they were having some big event going on there. And he's also famous because he also gave us Irving Park. So he was a great benefactor to the city.
I love that shot of Irving Park.
Yep.
Did you mention that he founded the Duplex Printing Company?
Yes, he was the president of the Duplex Printing Company. Yep, and that was even after he built the house.
Yeah,
because he was president of the Union School Furniture Company, but then he started the Duplex Printing Company, which is you being a newspaper man, they revolutionized printing newspapers. It was like an amazing revolution in how they could print papers.
Yeah.
What's really sad is I can remember the bridge when it looked like that, and the sandstone was all in Irving Park. It used to be really cool before it all got renovated.
And if anybody wants to learn more about Irving Park, there is Peeks into the Past on Irving Park. You can find it on YouTube. I encourage you to watch it. It's very interesting.
It is. Huh?
So, and then, we mentioned the Merritt family at the top of this program. This is the 327 Maple Street, the old Merritt Homestead, which, again, still stands and you can still walk by.
I was fascinated because, I sort of knew this, that I didn't realize it was originally built as an inn in Verona, and it was supposed to be 3 stories tall, but because Verona didn't become the city, Battle Creek became more successful. They never finished the inn, and so Charles Merritt bought the building and then had it moved to this site. And the cool thing was they moved it in the wintertime so they could use the Piper Park, the Piper Pond was frozen, so they could move the house over the frozen pond easier than they said. Moving it down Maple Street was going to be too difficult because the street was too narrow, so they went cross country, which was pretty amazing.
That's Charles Merritt.
Yep. And now, Randy, you could probably help me on this. Isn't some of the house used? They didn't use nails; they used wooden pegs in some of it.
I'm not sure about that, but I would imagine that at the era when it was first built, 1854, that would have been pretty early, so they could have used pegs. I don't have any evidence to know that that's true.
Then it's urban legend. We'll just call it that's true.
Yeah, we'll call it history.
And there's Dr. Kellogg on the front porch, and I think this was the 3/4 Century Club that Dr. Kellogg was involved with. So anyone over 75 who lived in Battle Creek could be part of this organization. And they were sort of involved with the Historical Society also, because Dr. Kellogg was one of the first presidents of the Historical Society in Battle Creek. So he actually promoted Battle Creek history. And the house was in the Merritt family for, okay, I'm looking at my little sheet of paper, over 140 years. The Merritt family lived in the house. The last owner that was related to Merritt was Irwin Brucker, who was an architect here in Battle Creek. He was married to Margaret Merritt, and
his practice was there for quite a number of years.
Yep, nicest guy. Really,
he was a great guy.
A very nice gentleman.
Really community minded, and was really helpful in anybody that needed to do anything and find information and so forth. He was a great guy.
And then Dr. Robinson bought the building and made it into his Northside practice. Which, Randy, did you help him build an addition onto it?
We did. Help them turn it into the doctor's office.
Okay.
And Dr. Robinson was a great guy, and it was nice to have a person of color with a practice in town. And I think he's done well through the years. Yep. And we did an addition to the back, I believe, to add some more exam rooms and some things like that. It's been a long time, so I'm trying to remember what went in the back, but that's normally what I would think.
And see, I was surprised. I was reading the history that because the Merritts were Quakers and involved in They were against slavery. So William Lloyd Garrison, who was an abolitionist, and also Sojourner Truth actually stayed at this house.
Oh.
In Battle Creek.
And many of the streets on the north side are named for members of the Merritt family.
Yeah.
Orchard Street, the street that I now, or I'm sorry, Orchard Avenue, the street that I now live on, named for their orchard.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And when Jim lived in Battle Creek, he lived in one of the Merritt Additions. And I live on Fremont Street, and that's the Fremont Heights Merritt Addition. So it said in here they had 4 different additions they built to the city. So 4 developments. I don't know how that's named, but they would plat out the area. And it says in the information that one of the Merritt wives, Elizabeth, managed the real estate part of the family. So I'm surprised that a woman, and not that women can't do this, but I was surprised that at that time they were letting a woman be involved with that. Because once again, people were women didn't do that. It's like
this particular brand of Quakers, they were quite progressive.
That's amazing. Yep.
Yeah.
And
it was interesting.
It's like
The Merritt's Woods area, they had A.B. Chanel do a bunch of the houses up in there. There were a lot of doctors and lawyers and stuff like that. That was the high-end housing development at the time.
And that was the north end of town. I always tell my friends that there was nothing. There was farm fields beyond the Merritt Woods. It's like people go, "Really?" I said, "Well, yeah, that was the north end of town. That was it."
Yeah.
It was all in the country.
Who owns this house? I don't know. 651 Maple. Who would own this place?
Yeah, that's my house.
That would be Hans Stark, who's done a wonderful job with it.
And actually, you know, Randy was a big part of that house too. So now I'm realizing this could have been called the Randy Show today.
A lot of them can be, actually.
Well, when you've been around this long, you know, you kind of figure you touch all this stuff.
In a great way.
This is just
Randy. You've done it in a great way. Like,
When we purchased this house, which was in 2011, yeah, it was kind of important. I mean, Randy did a great job of helping us out and, you know, printing the house, starting to it, and then the renovation, or then what we were going to change the house into. So that was quite a long process, wasn't it, Randy?
Yeah, it was. It was nice to get your carriage house done early so you get a place to work.
Hans, do you know who built the house? Do you know?
Yeah, so, the house was built in 1871 by Frederick Anderson.
Okay.
Thus is called the Sanderson House, and we still call it the Sanderson House. Now, the road right next to us that would run off of Capitol today is Sanderson. That road next to actually Sanderson. And so he was a Battle Creek alderman, also a assessor for Battle Creek, trustee, and then a school moderator. I don't know what a moderator was at that time. Maybe Kurt, you might know what that is, but and then the Sandersons actually lived in the house for over 100 years.
Wow.
Alpha, which was a granddaughter, and first, you know, Randy will tell you that the house had been pretty much vacant for 10 years before I bought it. So it took us about 8 years to renovate the house.
Yeah, once Maria Potassin closed the RSVP party design and they moved, I mean, it was, you know, it was kind of fallow, but it was a great place, and Hans has done great work with it.
He did an amazing job with the gardens.
So built in 1871, and I said earlier to Michael that we actually worked on for 3 years during COVID to try to get some historical recognition on the house. So the house built in 1871 last year was 150 years old. So probably about 4 or 5 months ago, we finally got with the help of Wayne State University to get the historical marker for the house. So we'll be getting that this year, probably end of July or August.
Oh, great.
So we're going to have a dedication for that. And of course, I'm sure that Randy and Michael and Kurt, you'll all be invited to that. So somebody from the state of Michigan presents that sign. So
yeah.
the sign, signage is coming. And I don't know what, Randy, you might, or Michael, I mean, that's got to be 5 or 6 houses just on what you would call Maple Street back then that have historical markers on it. So,
Yes.
and,
Yeah. Well, it's a state registered. I think it's a national registered district. I can't remember if it's national or just the state one. Usually, people didn't go for national register listing unless they were going to seek tax credits, and before homes couldn't receive tax credits. But just now, legislation passed, and starting the 15th of July, a homeowner owned historic property can get a 25% investment tax credit on the work that they do. It's pretty cool.
that does sound kind of cool. Probably a little too late for me.
Hey, Hans, you missed that one. It's like,
I
yeah.
missed out on that.
Yeah.
The house actually is about 4,000 square feet, and
Mm-hmm.
house is 4,000 square feet. And me and my wife Alicia, the upstairs is about 1,600 square feet. We live upstairs, and then the whole downstairs is pretty much for entertaining. So there's a master bedroom upstairs and a guest bedroom. So for 4,000 square feet, there's a lot of space there, and certainly we've had some really cool functions at our house over the years. COVID's cut into that a little bit, but we're back to doing a couple things in there. So this picture my wife sent in, that's just bizarre. After digging the footings for the garage there, that was dug up and sitting on a pile of dirt, and it's a light bulb that obviously is an original bulb that somebody threw out. And
Wow.
it's funny what in some of the excavation work we've done, or some of the construction work we've done, where we're putting footings in up on even on the riverside. That's amazing, the stuff that you find out when you start digging, because they used to throw everything in the outdoor latrines.
Yeah. The privy
Old stuff, and it's just amazing the stuff you find when you're digging footings like this here. So
the bottle collectors always look for the privies.
yeah, there you go. But,
Because I think, was it last year it was on the garden tour? Or was
last year the house was on the garden tour, yeah.
And it is just beautiful. And you let us walk all the way around the house where you can see the side dining area on the far side. It is just beautiful.
Yeah,
Like,
that side patio that it's kind of fenced in. We just had our pastor and assistant pastor from St. Joe Church there for dinner, and we all, it was the weather was perfect. We all sat outside, and it's a private kind of porch. You can hear once in a while you hear a motorcycle fly by, but wow, like I said earlier when they started that, we just love the house.
I think I took a close-up shot of that front landscaping. I don't know if you, maybe one of the earlier pictures.
Maybe it was one of the early ones.
Yeah,
I did have to cut down.
the only
Yeah,
one.
there's one.
That's
I think I-
pretty nice.
Yeah,
I think I had one from the other angle as well. I don't know if you got another shot. Oh,
yeah.
I had to fall a little bit, Randy. I had to make
Well, yeah, no.
these limitations.
That looks a little early
you can't put them all in.
that looks a little early in the spring. Some of the flowers aren't up yet. Actually, today, the hydrangeas are almost as high as the railing right now, and just starting to bud up.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
We have some before and after
you know
photos.
what? Honestly, we have people pull in the driveway all the time just to look at the yard.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I do all the yard work. So Alicia helps with the planting. Last year, Sally Ross, who's a master gardener, helped us with some of the plantings. The majority of the time, me and Alicia are doing it. But yeah, that's the kitchen in the house. And
I've been hearing that you're retiring soon.
yes, I am. Thank you.
So that means you probably did that so you could tend your garden in your house, huh?
I'll have a little bit more time to do, what I want to do. Yes. So,
Well, congratulations on that.
thank you.
Look at how beautiful that is. That is just amazing.
Yeah, so that's real. That's a 2 1/4-inch walnut floor, which I think it'd be pretty hard to find today. Real
Yeah.
1/4-inch solid, and of course today in the far right corner of that room is where the parlor grand piano sits from CW Post today.
Oh wow!
Randy, you've seen that in the house.
I think I have. Yep. It's been a while, but
Kurt, who was the, oh my gosh, Hans, the piano guy that plays in town. Can't think of his name right now.
Terry Lauer.
Terry Lauer.
Yeah.
Terry's been over several times and played that piano. It's
wow.
fabulous sound to that piano.
That is cool.
Yeah, and that sits in that corner now. So, but we, between Randy and we've done our best to keep the interior. Everything you see there was all replastered again. We took it right down. You can see the picture here. Actually, there was a salon in there, and they put self-stick tile on those walls.
Yeah.
What a mess that was.
Wow.
But yeah. There's right. You can see the renovation right down to the lath.
Mm-hmm.
Down to the lath, and then everything replastered. So Dave Weaver, a friend of mine, I think he spent 3 months up there plastering that house.
Did you put wooden lath back in, or did you use diamond
wood lath? Nope, all wood lath back.
Wow.
When we were doing the renovation upstairs, we kept some of the lath on some of the walls and had it in bundles, so wherever we needed to replace it. And the exterior walls, we left the lath up and actually put half-inch foil insulation on the outside, on all the exterior of the house. Before, and then the foil, then we put regular blue board up and then plastered it. So it's pretty well insulated, I would say.
Well, what a beautiful Hans, what a beautiful renovation. Once again, thank you. It's just like, to do that for our community. I know it's your home. I get all that, but still, as an asset to our community, what a beautiful, beautiful job. And the fireplace, we were commenting on this earlier when we saw the picture. So there was no fireplace originally there, and you put one there?
No, that fireplace I bought from Chicago and brought it in here and put it piece by piece back there. It's all hand carved. You can see the original picture actually. So you see the casing that's there on the left side where the floor goes right up to the casing. So that wall was opened up. That room's approximately 12 by 15. It looks pretty skinny there, but it's a pretty good sized room. That's the library. And the center of that fireplace there opens up, and there's a flat screen. It's all motorized.
My God.
I think I'm James Bond.
That is very cool. Yes. Or one of the evil leaders of the bad guys. It's like they always had that hidden stuff there too. It's like
he's a member of Rush.
Can you launch missiles from your cupola or something like that? It's like
I do have a doorway that goes to the basement. That's a secret passageway. So
that's where they have the sharks with the lasers.
I like how you have the picture of Chicago across from the fireplace that came
from the fireplace room. Yeah,
okay.
I actually had a condo downtown Chicago, and so a lot of the stuff in that room came from when I had a place downtown Chicago. Yeah, and that's a fabulous room. Actually, every room in my house is just it's all a little different. I think Randy's been there. They're all got the yellow that you see in that front dining room and living room. That's I struggled with what color I was going to paint it, and then I seen Architectural Digest, and then I took a look at Architectural Digest, and they said, "Oh, this is the new White House color that Michelle Obama put in dining room." So the White House, and I said to Alicia, "Hey, the Obamas just painted the inside of the White House this yellow. I've got to have that yellow." That's a true story. So it's the same yellow as the White House was, the main dining room in the White House during the Obama administration. So,
well, once again, historian Hans, the stuff you've done is great. Randy, all you've done for our community is just amazing. And I know a lot of it's little behind the scene things. I mean, you came over to my house and gave me advice on stuff on my house, and you're always there to help people out, and you do a really great job. And Jim Middleton collects all kinds of cool history, and he has all kinds of interesting little things he brings up and tells. He has great stories. And Mac, you're okay.
I'm okay.
Okay.
I think
I know where to find talent. I don't have any.
You were talking about another thing to do for another peeks into the past. The Adventist Historic Village might be an interesting one.
That would be.
Been working with them lately, and it's pretty cool. I've got columns.
Some of those plans now after COVID.
What's that?
Are they moving forward with some of the plans there now, or?
Well, they're trying to. We're planning to do it in a coordinated way with thoughts to the future. So we want to make sure that we don't do something now that's going to cause something to screw up the overall master plan, because they wanted to get what we've been calling as a staging building, because we're calling the Adventist Village an exhibit.
Okay.
The staging building is basically where they keep the artifacts, and that's where they rotate things through the various buildings. And so I donated today. Marcus Kuchba was in town today. He's from Austria. He's the chairperson of the Adventist Historic Ministries.
Wow.
And so he's now in charge of all the various things that the Adventists are doing around the world. And he was making a junket around and came to Battle Creek. And we met with Ted Deering and the people at the planning department today. And on the way out, I just realized I have 3 columns that we salvaged from the Fieldstone building.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I've had them in my office downtown forever, and we don't have a place to put them. I got 3 of them. I'm going to keep.
I just
2 of
heard
them.
it around them, so I'm not. It's for the new company that's in there. So we didn't disturb them. They're still there.
Yeah, they are. We were going to leave them, with the space, but I thought the Adventists should have a remembrance of the
Sure.
Sanitarium Hospital. And, we saved the cupola and put it over at the Children's Zoo, or the Children's Garden in Lila.
Garden, yeah, from the
Yeah. And, so that was nice because that was sitting in a pile and getting rusty. And that was, Duff Stoltz and I worked on that thing to get it moved and then cleaned up. Beach and Rich helped us with that locally. And so that got saved. But I figured with someplace in the village, they ought to have a place that has a column of that. So I pledged that to them today, and when they get ready for it, because
I'm really a bad historian. I have never been to the Adventist Village.
Oh, really?
That's one of the things I decided this summer. I thought that would be fun to go up and take the tour. I would love to see that.
Yeah. So you've never been to the Ellen White House?
I've been to the Ellen White House when they came up and had me bring pictures and stuff for them, but I've never been on the tour. So.
Oh. Well, just so people know, that's kind of the beginning of the faith. The worldwide faith started in Battle Creek in the Ellen White House.
Yep.
And so that's,
We have a question for Hans. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Oh, okay.
Shepherd House.
It says, "How's the Shepherd House coming along?" So it'll be done this winter. The inside of the house is 90% done. I've got actually the flooring's not done because I'm still building a couple cabinets for in there. So this winter is probably going to be a really easy wrap up for me there. So I would
be retired. You'd be able to do that. You'd be retired.
House out there next time. So what did you say, Kurt?
I said he'll be retired. Hans will be retired. He'll have all kinds of time to do that.
That's right, exactly. So.
Probably Alicia will have you going on some trips.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm sure her list is a lot longer than mine. So.
Yeah. Well, I have that kind of list too.
Thank you so much for your contributions tonight and for everything you all do to preserve and actually tell Battle Creek's story, preserve its history and tell its story.
I appreciate being invited again. Thank you.
Absolutely. I wanted to say, while in 1991 they printed a number of tours. One was the Maple Street tour. These things are hard to come by, but you might be able to get one at the museum. You might be at the Regional History Museum. You might be able to get one at the Kimball House Museum. I'm not sure.
There's nothing at the library?
There is a printout of the library of it.
Because I know that we published a series of things called preservation briefs back in 81 for the sesquicentennial.
Yeah.
And it was basically about how to rehab structures and how to do wood and masonry and all that kind of stuff. And that was kind of nice to send that around. That was done through the Historic District Commission at the time.
Yeah.
But Mac, thank you for hosting this, because once again, I think people really enjoy this. They enjoy hearing different aspects of Battle Creek history, and it's really funny because people think I know stuff because they'll talk to me and they go, "Wow, you know all this kind of stuff." Oh no, it's like an hour before the talk, I cram all this information and then just
you know a lot too.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
And Jim just said, and no one's wearing pants. Thanks.
That was actually a private chat. But
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Yeah, nobody wants to stand up.
Inside joke, folks. Well, again, thank you. I have my email address up there. If you have ideas for future Peaks in the Past, please send them my way. Give me a call, and we will be back. I think we have one more comment. We'll get that one in. And Edwin says thanks. Another great show.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a great week. And
all right. Have a good night. Thank you.
Setting it up, Mac.